Over the past 5 years, I've built a business that now generates over $100,000 in monthly revenue, and I'm 28 years old. In this video, I'm going to share with you the 10 key lessons I learned going from minimum wage job to now living the most amazing life with my husband and young family. So the first lesson is that I stopped selling cheap stuff. So when I started as an entrepreneur, it was actually when I was in my 20s. I was just changing my hours to get some money. So I worked as a social media manager for small business owners. And then when I started my second business, so the current one 5 years ago, I actually started by selling these low ticket, really cheap online courses and mini workshops. And I did that for the first 2 years, and I couldn't pay myself even a decent salary or salary at all. What happened and what made the biggest shift in my whole career and also in my life and my business was when I moved from selling low ticket things to high ticket offers. One of my first mentors told me that, Marianne, you could be doing $1 million in a year. And when I got that idea into my head, like I spent a whole year thinking that what could be something that I could offer that was like in 5K in value. So it's never about just selling something like expensive, but it actually needs to, of course, bring some value to the client. So I spent a year thinking about like what could be my premium offer. And also what's funny is that it took me 5 years to hit my first 10K in monthly revenue, and then in less than a year later from there I had already hit my first 100K in a month. And that was all because I spent the time thinking like how could I provide more value and how could I sell something more expensive. If I'm honest, like I spent the same amount of time working when I was doing less than 100K a year than when I did when we almost hit the first 7 figures in a whole year and selling the premium offer, because the only difference was that the thing that I was selling was a lot more expensive. And because of that, you can promise a better and bigger result. So I've also noticed so many more benefits of like when selling premium offers. So the clients actually, they commit working with you because they have skin in the game as well. They have invested in you. And that's why they actually also feel that they get more value, even though it would be the same thing that you have previously offered in a lower price point. And that's why they get better results, because they are so invested in working with you, and that's how you can promise even better and bigger results for your clients in the future. And you also have the resources to actually work with them because they are paying good money to work with you, and you don't need to like be constantly looking for new customers because you already have these premium clients, and a fewer clients are enough to bring in the revenue that you need for your own living expenses and salary. So I think that like there is so many more benefits. Of course, all the like profit numbers go up, and it's easier for you as an entrepreneur when you have some money on the bank to invest in your business and your business growth. So definitely like that was the biggest shift in my whole life when I moved from selling the low ticket things to selling high ticket premium offers. And the next lesson is actually to stick to one strategy. So I was participating this first international mastermind in Los Angeles in 2022. Vanessa Lau was the one hosting that mastermind, and we spent several days there with other entrepreneurs. They gave us so many strategies and things that we could be implementing to our businesses, and like it could be overwhelming experience, and it was that definitely overwhelming to me because that was my first mastermind, and I thought that, oh my god, like I need to be doing all these things and all these strategies. And actually I sat next to Julia. You might know Julia from Instagram. I can't pronounce her full name, but Julia actually said to me that, you know what, Marianne, like all these strategies can work, but you need to decide what strategy are you going to make work for you and your business. And that really hit me hard, because to that point I had tried several different strategies, and like I just thought that all the strategies that are shown on social media and people are trying to sell their own systems to me, and I just needed to hear that actually I didn't need to do all these strategies in order to succeed, but I just need to stick to the one strategy that I have decided to make work for me and my business. And that was really a good key lesson that I learned, because afterwards, like, I've now been able to stay more focused on my current business, solving the current business problems that we have, instead of just trying to go and take on new opportunities all the time and like trying all these different things and TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, everything. Like, I have decided to focus on YouTube, and that is the one main focus. And when we get that working, like, we can then maybe start like implementing or trying out something different. But first, get the strategy that you are now working on working so well that it brings you results every single week. Also, I see so many entrepreneurs saying that, oh, this strategy, like, this doesn't work for me. So for example, that like Instagram doesn't work for me, or like what is wrong with Instagram with these algorithms and everything. I always like to question, like, hey, is this now something that is like not working for anyone, or is it just you, like, who is not making it work for yourself? Because probably it isn't about the Instagram algorithm, but it's more that you haven't really figured out how to make it work in the most effective way to your business. And of course you will fail, you will not get it work maybe at like the first time you try something, but the failures are also just ways and guidelines to see, like, okay, well, this is the next thing that I just need to overcome in order to make this work better for myself. So the next lesson is that I learned copywriting, and copywriting is one skill that has really a big effect on your business and your sales and revenue you're making. What I mean by copywriting is the skill of writing the kind of content that gets people reacting, gets people engaged, because there's so many entrepreneurs who are just posting, and they think that the issue is that they are not posting enough, or they are not posting in right channels. But when you learn the skill of copywriting and writing and creating the type of content that keeps people engaged and gets them to react and to message you that, hey, tell me more about your offer, like, that is a number one skill that you need these days when you're starting out to actually get people interested in what you have to offer. So there is actually two different really simple copywriting frameworks that I wanted to share with you that you could now take with you and start practicing in creating better content with that. So the first one is AIDA. So it means attention, interest, desire, and action. So writing your post in a way that, okay, now the first thing is to create the hook. It's to create the statement or the beginning that really gets people's attention. Because if you think about this, like, that is the most important thing. If you're just sharing like, hey, 3 tips on how to get better in sales or something, like, nobody's really interested in that, because AI could create content like that any day nowadays. But the thing, like, how to get people's attention in this crazy world where there's so many posts on social media already, like, that is a real skill. And then another framework is PASTO, and it's amplifying the problem, and story, testimonial, and offer. And this is actually my favorite one, and I always try to remind myself of this when I'm writing content, because when you're writing from the perspective of what your ideal client is, like the problem that your ideal client is facing, like, that is also, like, if you are really good at describing the problem, the client will immediately think that you are the right person to be able to solve that problem, because that person knows exactly and can describe really well what is my problem. Like, then you immediately start thinking that, okay, well, then they might know also the answer to that problem. So I really like to write from that perspective and always think about, like, what is the problem that my ideal client is facing, and just write content from there. And also, these frameworks are not just to write some posts on social media, but you can also keep them in mind when you're creating videos or podcasts or whatever. Like, these are really good frameworks to create content that actually gets people to move and like to react to your content. And the next lesson is to focus on your own growth and not the noise around you, because there is going to be so much noise around you when you're starting out something new, when you are trying to build something amazing and have a big impact with that. Like, people are going to try to even like sabotage what you're doing, or they will critique and they will give their opinions, and that is where like you need to be almost like in a bubble. Like, that's how I've lived in the past few years. Like, I don't read any social media, any news, anything, because I just want to be in my own bubble where I can focus on the growth of myself, of my business, and actually, because I think that this is really important when you are trying to create something new, you can't let the outside noise affecting you. And there has been even my family members trying to stop me from running my business or like being an entrepreneur, and there has been like several big campaigns trying to talk a lot of bad stuff about me and my business and trying to ruin my reputation, and it has been so hard, and it can be really lonely because there isn't a lot of people who really understand you and can relate to you, because most of the people aren't having such big goals and visions and trying to work towards them constantly and being 100% committed and focused on doing that. So it can be lonely, and what I've learned, the easiest way is to just trying to stay in your own bubble and focusing on my growth, not focusing on the competitors, on the news, on the trends or anything. Like, of course, if there's something that could benefit you or like help you to grow your business faster, of course you should be focusing on that too. But other than that, like, just let the others talk, let them be, let them critique you. Like, I know this is easier said than done. I know it firsthand myself, but just staying focused on yourself and the growth, because it's so important, because I see so many entrepreneurs and people just like complaining about the world situation and also comparing themselves to others and like worrying about the competition and the saturated market and everything. But if you just used all that energy and time that you're spending on doing that to your own growth and your business, like, it will make the biggest change and the biggest impact on your own life and your business. Also, it keeps you more positive, and yeah, so I think it's just, you just need to do that. And the next lesson is doing what others are not willing to do. So I actually got to meet this one big influencer in Finland who has done like, she has like millions of followers worldwide. She's doing this like house cleaning thing, and she also has like really good numbers in her business, like I think over 1 million in yearly revenue, over 600,000 in profit, and all those numbers are public, by the way, in Finland, so I know this and everybody knows that. And how I actually met this person was that we were in this TV panel conversation in Finland together, talking about becoming rich and like talking about money and stuff like that. And the one thing that she said, which had made her rich, was that she was willing to do the shit that others weren't willing to do. And because she's literally doing the shitty work, she's doing the cleaning. And that was like, even though it was literally the case with her, I understood that this is the case also with all the other stuff as well. So for example, with myself, I learned it really early on that in order to me to get a job, like when I was young, I was 15 and looking for my first summer jobs and stuff like that. Like, I was living in this small city where there weren't a lot of like dark skin people. I'm mixed race. I had my father's last name, which was a foreign name in Finland, and I learned really early on that in order for me to get the job, I would need to do something also that others weren't willing to do, and that was sales. So I started like writing in my applications and everywhere that I am like, I love sales, like I want to do sales. And of course, even though it wasn't even about a sales job, but it was something really simple like customer service role, I would get the job because I wanted to do the sales. And I learned that, okay, well, this is a skill that I need to master. And still to this date, like I know so many coaches, consultants, and like business owners that hate taking sales calls, for example, and they are looking for, like desperately looking for ways to generate clients without taking the calls. And I learned that, okay, well, if everybody else hate taking sales calls, like this is a skill that I am going to master and be so good at it that I will always win because of that. And also because I did that, I started loving taking the sales calls. Like I just love them. Like there is no bad thing about them that I could come up with, because if you can take a call, an hour long call with somebody and close them as your client that is going to pay you, for example, $25,000, like it's so worth it. Like it's the best way to spend your time. And that's how I think that I have been able to grow so fast, because I was willing to do the things that most weren't willing to do. So the next lesson is learning from the best. So what I've always done is that when I need to learn something new, like I have looked through my own network and social media and everywhere, like who is the best person and who has the proven track record, or like who has the proofs showing that, okay, that they know what they are doing, and how could I learn from them. So I've always tried to find the best mentor, the best coaching program, the best of everything. Like I've tried to get the best people to work with me and like do that. And it's of course like there might always be somebody even better, but it doesn't matter. Like if you are just trying to reach out to those who you know at this moment that are the best that you know, like you will get further than just like you're trying to learn from your neighbor who has some experience or just doesn't have any experience but has just read about the thing that you want to learn more. Like it's really important to find the people who know what they are doing and get their lessons. And then also another thing is that you need to implement what they are teaching you, like really throughout it. Like I have been the best student to my own coaches and my mentors. Like I've always implemented every single thing that they have said, and I've done it in their schedule. Like if I invest in any programs or anything, like I will be there on the calls and like trying to get everything out of it. For that reason, like people are always asking, because I've invested more than $300,000 in coaching, mentorship and consultants, and people always ask me like how to know which ones are good, which ones are bad. And because I know myself and I trust myself that I am committed, like I will be doing whatever it takes to make it work. Like I don't really even need to worry about that, because I know that if I have looked for a person who has the proofs and I look them up and I know that they know what they're doing, then it's more about me and me taking the responsibility and actually just implementing what they are doing. Because after coaching more than like actually thousands of people, but with our premium offer we've helped more than 447 coaches and consultants, like I've seen those people who have maybe like they have typically a lot of experience, and then they come to our program and then they start questioning everything that we are trying to get them to do. And we are like, oh my god, like you have paid us a big amount of money to get our help, and now you are coming here and telling like what to do better with your own experience. And it was clear that with your experience, like you couldn't throw your business to the next level that you have wanted to. So why aren't you just now listening to our guidelines and our action steps that we are trying to help you to implement? Because we know after working with several clients similar to you that this is how you will get to where you want to go. So like I've seen these people, and I really recommend you to not being one of those, but actually going to every situation as like you are rookie, like you don't know anything, just there to learn. And of course you will gain this knowledge after years of experience, that okay, like you can be more critical of some tips and tricks that people are trying to give you because you have done it so many times. Like of course you will get better at it. But yeah, my advice definitely is to find out who are the best people who could help you, and then just trying to get their help. That is like what I've done from the beginning, and I never even expected that they would help me for free. Like if I have reached out some people, like I have called people from LinkedIn like, hey, could you like share with me like how did you do that? I have called, and that has been free, and it's it's been really valuable to me, but also I've been always ready to pay for the help because I don't want to expect that anyone would help me for free because they don't have to. And also that is another thing, like you can't expect others to just bring you the results or save you from your own situation. Like it is you who brought yourself into this current circumstance where you are, and it's going to be you who is going to take you to the next step and the next circumstance or the next achievement or goal where you want to go. Like this is really important because also I could say that I also thought in the past that like some person or somebody else would come and save me and like take me to where I want to go, but no, I don't believe that anymore. Like there is nobody coming to save me and not you either. And the next lesson is that I compare myself to people already ahead of me, and in that way I'm feeling like I have so much to still work on and improve. But also what could happen that when you are growing fast, because they say that you are the 5 closest people that are surrounding you and you're spending the most time with, but I don't believe that at all, because I think that it's really hard to find 5 people like really near you where you would like to go. So instead of thinking that way, I would definitely say that those 5 people that you compare yourself to should be already there where you want to go. If you're comparing yourself to the people near you, like at some point you have gone further than them, and then you will be like, oh well, I'm already the biggest in my industry here, in my local area or whatever. But in that moment, like if you are the head of the class, like you need to get out of that class immediately, and you need to start comparing yourself to people who already are ahead of you. If you want to, for example, create a 7-figure business, like start comparing yourself and your actions to those who are there, like who are already making 7 figures in yearly revenue, and you will see the things that they are doing differently from those who aren't there yet. And that's where you should be comparing yourself to. Like, are they spending time on the same things than you are? What are the things that they are saying no to? And that is also a reason, for example, like I'm currently comparing myself to people who are already running 8-figure businesses and making $1 million per month. And what I've noticed is that I don't need to be, for example, creating Instagram stories all the time. Like that is one thing that really kept me stuck, and I hated it. I hated to spend so much time on creating these Instagram stories that would vanish in 24 hours. So last year I decided to quit. Like, let's see what happens if I don't do them at all. So only Instagram stories that we currently run on my own Instagram page are like just like some really simple like lead generation type of posts that can be also published by my marketing coordinator. And it really like has shifted my mindset, because I can see that a lot of entrepreneurs who are not in the 8 figures, like they are really obsessing over like these small little details on their Instagrams and stories, and for example, and I noticed that if I want to be the entrepreneur in the 8-figure level, like I can't be the one obsessing over Instagram stories, for example. Like this is just a one simple little trick, but also like my way of thinking and seeing things is that I need to become that person who runs 8-figure business easily. So I need to just list those things, like what are the things that they are doing in daily basis, in weekly, in monthly and yearly basis that they are doing in order to reach that level. And I see so many people get stuck in their business because they are still looking from the circumstances where they are. So they are not trying to change themselves, but they are trying to change circumstances, if you know what I mean. Like they are trying to get the bigger outcome by doing the same things or like being the same person that they were yesterday. So what I do, I compare myself to people who are already ahead of me, and I keep myself inspired by them by listening to podcasts about that type of people and watching YouTube videos and stuff like that, because I think there is a tremendous amount of content out there already. Like you could be consuming that type of content instead of just like trying to see what the people around you are doing. And the next lesson is to have 10x goals. So one of my favorite books is by Dan Sullivan, 10x is easier than 2x, and I have listened to that one multiple times because I just love the lesson it gives you and the ideas and the mentality that it has. So what it means that you will 10x your your current goal. So if your goal, for example, is to hit 1 million in yearly revenue, then 10x that and think in a way that, okay, I will hit this 10 million in yearly revenue. So if your goal has been to reach 6 figures in yearly revenue, now you would set as your goal to hit a 7-figure yearly revenue. And the way that your mind starts thinking the ways to get there is so different when you're trying to do the linear growth. Because as I told you in the beginning, the way my business grew wasn't linear. Like it wasn't like 20% from the last year and 10% there. It was actually really fast 10x growth from less than 80k in a year to suddenly making more than 900k in a year. Like the jump was really fast, and I really think that it was because I set myself this 10x goal. And of course you will feel like, oh well, it's not possible to do it in this short period of time. And typically we think just like that, like we think that it's impossible for us to do. But actually something that I learned was that our goals are not typically the ones that are impossible, but our timeline is. So instead of thinking that I need to hit the 7 figures this year, if you grow the timeline and you think in a way that, okay, well, I will set this 10x goal and I will be hitting that number in 25 years, in 15 years, in 10 years, like it already feels like, oh, well, of course I'm going to be able to do that. And what happened to me when I set myself this 10x goal and I freed up myself from thinking that, oh, I need to hit this next year, I started to come up with all these creative ideas like this needs to happen in order for us to reach that goal. And it actually ended up me now thinking that, oh, it's not going to take 10 years. This is going to happen in the next couple of years, because I now know what needs to happen in order for us to hit that 10x goal and the milestone. And I really think that thinking in long term will help you to get more creative, because if you are just thinking about the next month, the next year, like it's such a short period of time. But when you are thinking in long periods of time, like you have time to get things done properly and you have time to actually invest your time and effort into making things great. So I definitely think that it will help you think through those 10x goals. And also another thing is that it's not even about the numbers. Like I've heard so many people say that you're just so greedy and you're like just about the money and why are you always talking about the numbers? And yeah, like I am, like there is nothing bad about talking about numbers. Like first of all, like I think if you are thinking that there is something bad, like it's about you and not about the money or the thing. But for me, the numbers are just metrics. Like it's not that I want to have like 10 million in my bank account. Of course, like who wouldn't want that to happen? But for me, it's more about that I want to be that person who is able to build something that generates 10 million or more in yearly revenue. Like I want to improve myself. I want to be that kind of entrepreneur and grow to become that kind of person who easily can achieve something like that. And if you start looking at facts, if you start looking for proofs, there are examples of people already achieving the goals that you are now just thinking that it's impossible for me. So now instead of thinking that it's impossible for you, to start looking at like the evidence and all the facts, like how could you make those circumstances happen in your life, and how could you become that kind of person who easily achieves something that feels so impossible for you. So for example, what I mean by this is that I know that there is so many things that I still need to learn and master in order for me to be able to run an 8-figure business. Instead of thinking that it's impossible for me, I spend my time and my energy to trying to improve myself to become that person who easily runs 8-figure business. And also people might be like, well, what is ever enough for you? Like, isn't that enough for you already? And stuff like that. But when you are actually seeing the goal as you becoming a better person and growing as an entrepreneur, for example, like it's not that something is enough for you, but it's actually just like the ongoing work that you're doing to develop yourself. And it's more about that the horizon is always going further and further. And after hitting 8 figures, then you can think about like, can I be an entrepreneur who hits 9 figures? And it doesn't need to be toxic and like this constant thing that you're not enough, but it's more like, I am here living this life for the first and the last time. Like, why wouldn't I try to become the best possible person that I could be? I see it more in that way. And I also just want to see like there isn't a limit, that a cap that I see with my own growth. And I think more like, what is it that I am capable of doing? Like, let's just see, I'm still early on my career, so let's see what I'm capable of doing. So there isn't any like toxicity or like I feel like I'm not enough. Like, I'm already happy. Like, I know that I have everything that I need, and everything that happens or comes to my way is just bonus, and I just like love doing what I do. So the next lesson is to never stop when things get hard. And it might mean that you're tired after sleepless nights, and that has happened to me, and it's been because of our babies, or because I've been stressing out because something happened in my business, or you are anxious because of doing or taking a hard conversations, for example, or you have got not just your first rejection, but like tens or even hundreds of rejections. Like, those are the times where most people quit, and you will want to quit as well. Like, these are the times where when things get hard, you get like really anxious, you feel anxiety coming up, and you're stressing and your stress levels go up. And those are the moments where most people just quit and stop. In those moments, I have told myself that this is where most people stop. That's why I am not going to be stopping now. Like, if I just can keep going for even one day, I will just keep going for that day. And then the next day again, like, can I just work this day without quitting? Like, I just move forward. So when things get hard, they really get hard. That is the time when you most likely want to quit everything. But if you just keep going, you will get more resilient. You will get better tolerance of stress, and things that used to stress you won't stress you again that much, and you will get better at everything that you're doing. And that was what has happened to me, and it's because I didn't quit on those times when things get really tough. And I would definitely say that this is one of the biggest things to succeed in life in order to hit that 100K per month revenue mark, is that you just continue working consistently every single day, even though you are not feeling the best, even though you're tired, you're anxious, you're stressed out, you are afraid, because those are normal human feelings that we all are feeling. And the things that are stressing us out now will get easier with time. And I will promise you that, like, things that stressed me out like 5 years ago, like now I'm like, oh, well, that's nothing new. Like, I've done this multiple times already. And that is how you will get further in life and win in life. And the next lesson is that I didn't wait for finding a co-founder for my business. I don't know many people who have found the right partners for their businesses in the beginning and started their company together and succeeded big time doing that. Because like most of the stories go like get into fights or like disagreements. It typically doesn't really end up well when you are working with other people and starting a business, because I think what ends up happening is that the other one is more driven and more committed in making it work, and the other one, of course, that person will get frustrated if the other one is not committed at the same level than the other person is. So for me, I feel like I didn't wait for finding a business partner or a co-founder. Like, when I had the idea of creating my company, I just went for it, did it all by myself, and I'm not telling you that you will achieve big things alone by yourself. Like, of course, I've needed a lot of people around me helping me, the team, like mentors and stuff like that. But what I did initially was that I was the one founding the company, creating the vision and getting people to help me. And I think that this has also been a catapult for my fast growth in business, because if I had spent a lot of time looking for the right partner, and if I had choose the wrong one in the beginning and then I would have needed to look for another one, I think that I have saved a lot of time just doing it all by myself and starting the business on my own. If you like videos like this, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.